Tonight, Gael Garcia Bernal orchestrates the campaign to end a regime of terror in No.
Tom Cruise holds the future of the world in his hands in Oblivion.
And there's clear and present danger in the action thriller Olympus Has Fallen. Good evening.
Hi.
Also tonight, a baby switch triggers a cultural dilemma in The Other Sun.
And this week's classic is Krzysztof Kieślowski's 1979 Camera Buff. But first, David, let's start with Olympus Has Fallen.
Well, banning Gerard Butler, security guard to the US President, Aaron Eckhart, is unable to save the life of the First Lady after a Christmas night car crash on an icy bridge. As a result, he's reduced to a desk job. But 18 months later, when rogue elements from North Korea infiltrate the White House, mysteriously disguised as members of the President of South Korea's entourage, he's there to help.
Yes, the President's in the bunker.
He's being held hostage.
What do they want?
We're trying to find out.
Well, who's in charge?
Trumbull, are there any survivors with you?
Negative, sir. They wiped us out. They have commandos roaming the hallways with enough explosives to take out an army. Looks like the doors and windows are rigged with C4 explosives. Who knows what other tricks they have up their sleeves. Any team coming in is going to be ringing the front doorbell pretty loud. They shut the power down, the lights off, and I assume they closed the air vents. I killed the surveillance, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Where's Connor?
We have no status of his location, but he's presumed to still be inside.
Morgan Freeman plays the Speaker of the House who steps into the President's shoes when the President and Vice President are captured by the bad guys, led by Kang, Rick Yoon. Melissa Leo is good as the Secretary of State, another victim of the enemy invasion. But Radha Mitchell is utterly wasted in a nothing role as Banning's wife, a nurse. I usually enjoy this kind of thriller. The first couple of Die Hard movies were great fun, and Olympus Has Fallen is Die Hard in all but name. The basic premise is far-fetched but serviceable. The dialogue is frankly rather silly, but I've heard worse. And the visual effects that involve the toppling of the Washington Monument, among other things, vary between the impressive and the cheesy. Could this be because most of them were created in Bulgaria? Who knows? The ultra-patriotism contained in the film's message is nothing new, and that's the thing about this film. There's nothing new here. This sort of thing has been done better and more convincingly before. Margaret.
Do you know, I was watching this and I was thinking, I don't think Antoine Fuqua is the most subtle of film directors. And I think, coupled with the clunky dialogue on occasions, I mean, the audience that we saw it with were laughing inappropriately at some moments. And I think that's because some of those scenes were so badly handled. But I think also, particularly in light of today's events in America, in Boston, I don't know that Americans want to see this sort of thing. I was watching it and thinking, Americans are going to react against this. I mean, this is the White House absolutely shattered to smithereens, and this is the bastion of their democracy.
Sure.
And I think there was a lot of damage done, and I don't care whether they had insurance. It's the body count is sort of like 1,000 within the first 20 minutes.
And very violent. It's unusually violent.
It is, and it's violent.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think, especially in the light of today's events, watching this film takes on another complexion, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
America at its most vulnerable.
Yeah,
it's
and it's interesting because there's going to be another film called White House Down coming out in a few months' time by Roland Emmerich, which I believe has a similar sort of plot. So it'll be, because this has not been a great success, I don't think, in America.
Well, look, I think there are some good elements. And what's Bulgaria got to do with the special effects anyway? Special effects are done all over the world. Visual effects, sorry.
I know.
Don't have a go at the Bulgarians.
I wasn't having a go at the Bulgarians.
Nice people.
I just thought that some of these visual effects were a bit subpar in this.
Well, the implication is there, David. I'm giving this 2.5 stars.
I wasn't meaning to be rude to the Bulgarians. I'm giving it 2.5 too.
Agent Banning. Yes, I know who you are. Welcome to my house.
What took you so long?
You're the one that let the First Lady die, no? And soon the President. Failure seems to be a habit with you.
Yeah, well, Maybe I owe you for giving me the chance for making up for that today.
I admire you for acknowledging your failure, but there's no going back. Nothing you try and do here tonight can atone.
Olympus Has Fallen opens nationally this week. In Oblivion, the new sci-fi film, co-written and directed by Joseph Kosinski, based on his own graphic novel, Tom Cruise stars as Jack, who mans an outpost on a devastated Earth after an alien invasion 60 years ago. We might have won the war, but we lost the planet, and Earth's population is now based on a moon of Saturn. Jack's based in a high-level, high-tech structure with partner Victoria, Andrea Riseborough, from which he maintains the drones that protect Earth's few remaining resources from the scavengers. Although his memory was wiped 5 years ago, he keeps on having flashbacks to another time in New York and another woman, Olga Kurilenko. Jack has an uncanny sense that things are shifting, especially when a spaceship crashes and the woman of his memory becomes a reality. She's Julia.
I want to go on first thing.
Vika, do you have any memories before the mission? Before the security wing?
Our job is not to remember. Remember?
Do you remember her?
Jack, that was a scav, a beacon that brought her down. We don't know who she is or what she is.
This is all intriguing stuff up to a point. And when that point is reached, the film heads straight into cliché territory, which is not helped by the music of Anthony Gonzalez and ep9. There's ballast in the film from the performances of Cruise and Morgan Freeman, and especially Andrea Riseborough, who brings an amazing credibility to her role because this is all fantastical stuff we're watching. There are references to Top Gun, to Star Wars. The toys and the gimmicks are on full display. I'm not sure all the plot holes join together. It became a bit confusing towards the end. But in terms of a romantic action movie, it just about passes muster. David?
Well, I think visually it's very strong. I like the concept of the place where Jack is living, up on that high tower with a swimming pool underneath and this wonderful apartment.
Maybe the visual effects weren't done in Bulgaria.
Probably not. I love the little plane that he flies. It's versatile little...
Yeah, the toys are there.
Yeah, it's all there. But what is a bit dispiriting about the film, given that it has so much invention and so much imagination, and good performances too, I think, generally speaking, but what's dispiriting is that it's so derivative. I mean, the whole concept of remembering something from the past, it comes from La Jetée, the famous Chris Marker film, which was remade as 12 Monkeys by Terry Gilliam.
They say there are only 12 basic plots.
Yeah, but this is so specific and science fiction too. And Moon is a big reference point here too. You know, that very, very good underrated film.
Not by me. I loved Moon.
Yes, I know, but I mean, not many people saw Moon.
No,
they should have.
shame.
It's a great film, actually. So this is really so not new that's a bit disappointing, given that visually it's striving to be different.
I think for the first half, it sets itself up as a very intriguing concept. But then...
Well, I think with the entry of Morgan Freeman, it starts to go downhill, to be perfectly honest.
I think with the entry of another Tom Cruise, that's the point at which it started getting a little bit odd for me. Look, I'm giving it 3 stars.
Well, I'm giving it 3.5.
I've been watching you, Jack. You're curious. What are you looking for in those books? Do they bring back old memories?
You won't get anything from me. My memory's been wiped to protect
security of the mission. Yes. You can't have your precious memory falling into the wrong hands now, can you? You just repair drones. Don't go into the radiation zone. Don't ask too many questions. Not part of the job description.
Oblivion is currently screening around the country. With No, Chilean director Pablo Larraín completes a trilogy about the dark days of the Pinochet dictatorship. Pinochet seized power in Chile in 1973 in a CIA-backed coup against the elected government of Salvador Allende, who was killed in the fighting. 15 years later, in 1988, the international community imposed on Pinochet and his regime a referendum to be conducted to determine whether the Chilean people wanted to return to democracy. Everyone assumed the result would be rigged, but the referendum goes ahead. Yes for Pinochet, no for democracy. The central character of the film is René Gael Garcia Bernal, the son of an exiled dissident, now a whiz kid in a Santiago ad agency devising campaigns for soft drinks. An old colleague of his father seeks his help in devising the No campaign. This is fascinating indeed, as Lorraine explores how the No campaign gained momentum thanks to a series of rather cheesy promotions on the theme of happiness. In keeping with the look of video at the time, the film is shot in decidedly low def, which might be authentic but gets a little tiresome after a while, especially as the film is a bit longer than it needs to be. But still, the story of how the ordinary men and women of Chile finally managed to get their voices heard, in spite of many restraints and restrictions, is inspirational. And there are fine performances from Bernal, from Antonia Zegas as his estranged activist wife, and from Lorraine regular Alfredo Castro as René's boss, who takes an active role in the Yes campaign. Margaret.
Look, I think it's such a fascinating piece of history.
It is.
You know, that they didn't, because Pinochet was responsible for so much disgustingness, and instead of focusing on all the negatives of a campaign, you know, he sells it like a soft drink,
yes.
Which is, you know, I mean, it's a jingle campaign.
All the happy things.
Yes. It's really, really interesting. I mean, he's such a major star in South America. And I think he's got a lovely presence in this. They shot it on U-matic. This is a format that disappeared from television about 20 years ago in Australia. And I must admit that, you know, the money, look, it didn't look too bad in the clips then. No. But on the big screen, it does tend to diminish a bit.
I think that's the thing about Pablo Larraín. I think he makes really interesting films. I mean, this trilogy, which this is the first of them to be shown commercially, but they are very good. But I don't think the visual side of things is something he cares all that much about.
So he's more intent on...
I think he's into content more than look.
Yeah. Look, I really enjoyed this. I'm giving it 4 stars.
I'm giving it 3.5.
I'm really interested in that the shadow of Pinochet hangs over all of your films, and I'm interested in why you've chosen this period.
I think it's something that is so relevant, and I believe that movies sometimes can tell these stories to the world. I'm not trying to teach anything, or to. I'm just trying to show what happened, you know. We have an opinion, of course. Movies, they aren't just, you know, random ideas. We have an opinion of what happened, and we wanted to express that. And particularly this movie has a very strange element, because usually dictators, they lose power when they are old, or they, you know, I don't think there's any other case in human history where a dictator lives throughout a democratic process. So this is a very unique story. What happened in my country, that we had the chance to vote in order to keep him or not, is just so amazing and so unique. A lot of people knows how Pinochet got into power. Not many people knows how he was, you know, pushed out. And this is the story.
Si este es el voto y uno marca, ¿qué queda? No más. No más Pinocho. No más dictadura. Pero bueno, puede funcionar.
Es muy bueno, weón, es perfecto. No más tortura, no más muerte.
No más censura, no más abuso.
Está muy bien.
Sí. No más deuda, no más intereses, no más cuentas por pagar.
My two previous movies were coming from my imagination. This one is based on a real TV campaign, you know, a political campaign. So we were, you know, starting from something that is absolutely real. It's so simple, and it deals with something that is so unique, that is, when does advertising, like product advertising, gets into the political communication? And that crossover is very delicate and dangerous, because when you sell, I don't know, a bottle of Coca-Cola, it's not that